All right, so a couple of more things to loosen up the shoulders. We're gonna place our hands on our knees and do a seated cat-cow. So we're gonna arch the back, belly button goes toward the knees. Our arms can hold on and then bend. And then as we round our back going into the cat back stretch, we can straighten our arms out and even kind of pull on the knees a little bit to stretch down that back a little bit. And then we'll just keep flowing. And then coming back to stillness, let's do some torso circles. So just start making some big circles. Just getting a little movement into our hips. And then we'll pause and circle the other way. And then we're going to come on over onto our hands and knees in our tabletop. So again, if you like to have those, the extra padding under your knees, feel free to use a folded blanket. So as you come into our tabletop, just make sure that your wrists are under your shoulders and your knees are under your hips. We'll tuck the toes here, press our fingertips into the mat, and then do some cat-cow from here. So we're going to drop the belly toward the mat, raise the gaze to look up at the wall in front of us, and then flatten the tops of our feet, round our back, nose toward the navel, crown of head toward the floor, coming into cat, and we'll just flow back and forth. Then I am going to turn toward the front so that you can see what I'm doing. We'll move into half circle twist. So we'll extend our left leg straight out from our hip. Sole of the foot is on the floor. We'll shift the weight into our right hand, and then we'll sweep the left arm up and twist toward the extended leg. So when we get up here and our arm is fully extended, our shoulders should be stacked. And then we're going to thread the needle. So we'll sweep that arm underneath the right, getting a little bit of a stretch on that inner thigh, the extended leg, and then it flow back up into the half circle twist. And then we'll thread the needle again. And one more time. Once we extend that arm up, we're going to stay here for just a moment. So right now we're looking at the wall, but if you want to tuck your chin, you can actually tuck it just a little bit and look up at the ceiling or at your thumb. If this is bad on your shoulder, just place your hand on your waist. That's perfectly fine. Don't forget to breathe. On our next exhale, we're going to extend that arm back up, float it back to the floor, and then bring that knee back underneath our hip. This time we'll extend the right leg long and straight out to the side, sole of foot on the floor, shift the weight into the left hand, and then sweep the right arm up, coming into half circle twist on this side. And again, we'll do that thread the needle flow. So we'll thread that right arm under the left and then back up. And then once we come back up after that third thread the needle, we'll hold here. And tuck that chin and look up at your hand or the ceiling if you like, but only if it feels good. That can be a little rough on the neck for some people. And then we'll sweep that arm back down, bring the knee back underneath the hip, and then we'll just stretch back for a moment in our child's rest. You can be a little active in this child's rest. You can kind of wiggle your hips back and forth, straighten your arms and stretch through the armpits, or you can be just really relaxed here. It's up to you. And I'm going to go ahead and turn back to the side and we'll continue. We'll press back up into our tabletop, tuck our toes, and then lift our hips up into the air, coming into our first down dog. Go ahead and let those, the heart and the head drop toward the mat. Press through the fingers, especially on the thumb and forefinger side, and bend your knees a lot. So we really want to focus on making a straight line with the body from the hips all the way down through the fingertips. Most people can't do that, at least not starting out with the legs straight. So bending the legs is perfectly fine here. We're going to take a deep breath in, sigh it out, and then we're going to walk our hands toward our feet forward, toward our hands. Once we get the hands underneath us, bring our hands up our legs so you can keep a small bend in your knees. And then just walk up very, very slowly. We've been down a lot. We don't want to get real dizzy when we stand up too fast. So we're going to move our blanket off to the side if you had it on your mat. And then we're going to grab our block and place it on tower position in front of us. And we'll come to a wide-legged stance, hands on the waist. So for this wide-legged forward fold, we're going to hinge at the hips. So we're going to come forward with a flat back right here at the waist. So press those hips out behind you to counterbalance the weight of the torso. Your weight is going to be more in your heels here. You're feeling probably a stretch down the backs of your hamstrings. If it's too much on your knees, do a micro bend. And then when you're ready, go ahead and place your hands on top of the block. We're staying here in our flat back position, just enjoying this hamstring stretch for a breath or two. And then when you're ready, and only if you want to, you can lower the setting on your block, or you can put your hands on the floor if they reach. Fingertips should be going the same direction as your toes when they're on the floor like that. And then you can go ahead and just fold forward a little bit more and let the crown of your head drop toward the floor. And we'll walk our hands back over toward the block, place the hands on top of the block in that tower position again, coming up with that flat back. Shift the weight back into the heels, pressing the hips toward the back wall. And then we're going to bring our hands to our hips, bend our knees a little or a lot, and just pivot on up to standing. So now we're going to come on back down to the floor. So that was just a quick stretch in a standing position, but we'll come on down to crocodile rest. So we'll be flat on our belly. We'll stack our hands in front of us and rest our forehead on our hands. So from here, we'll bend our knees and just windshield wiper gently. Going to place those feet back on the mat. The tops of the feet are pressing into the mat. We're going to slide our elbows underneath our shoulders. So we're coming into Sphinx pose. This is a heart opener. It's also a back bend. So your forearms are parallel. Your head is in line with your spine and you're reaching out through the crown of your head. Shoulders are away from ears. If this is a little much on your back, pull that belly button in toward the spine. That'll help support the low back and take any pinching out. If at any time it becomes too much, you're welcome to go back down into crocodile rest. You can go a little bit deeper coming into seal. So if you'd like to do that, you can walk your hands to the upper corners of your mat and then raise up any amount more coming into seal. So you don't have to have your arms completely straight. You can keep a bend in them at any level, any amount. When you're ready, we'll just lower the elbows, coming just briefly back through Sphinx, and then all the way back down to crocodile rest, forehead on the hands, and then with the windshield wiper again. We'll return the feet to the mat and bring our hands underneath our shoulders. And that's just going to help us press back up into a tabletop position. Once we get there, going to tuck our toes, push back up into a downward facing dog so that we can then flow into a plank. So you can stay in high plank like this, or you can drop your knees, whatever feels best to you today. We're going to go back up into downward facing dog just briefly. Come back into plank. Drop our knees to the mat. And then very, very carefully roll down onto our bellies again. We'll push back up into a tabletop and just come to a seated position so that we can get set up for our next pose, which is a restorative pose. So you'll need both of your blocks. And we're going to put them in the shape of a T. So you're going to have one in this position with the skinny side toward this side, making a T. And as you can see, one's higher than the other. And then we'll take our flat bolster and make a ramp. You can also use a couch cushion, any kind of bed pillows. You can stack blankets up, just whatever you need to do to get yourself in this position. And then what we'll do is scoot our hips back as close as we can get them to the bolster, and then lie back Knees are bent and the feet are on the floor. We'll expand our arms out into a T. So this is where our chest opening is coming in. So you can stay in this position with your legs, or you can try just letting the knees drop away, letting the soles of the feet come together, and you can come into Supta Baddha Konasana, so the reclined cobbler pose. So you don't have to have the ramp if you don't have those props available to you. Just lie flat on the floor and put your arms out in a T. So it's time to gently come out of that pose. So if you're up on a ramp, you may want to bend your knees and just sort of gently roll off of the bolster onto the floor. But regardless of which position you chose and which props you used, just please come up very, very slowly. We'll Once you move your props out of the way, we'll come on down to our backs. And we'll come into constructive rest. So we're lying on our back, flat on our back with our knees bent and our feet on the floor. I'm going to do a little bit of bridge pose here. So grab a block. And place it between your upper thighs. We're just going to do a little bit of work here. Then we're going to go back into some more restorative stuff. We're just going to break up all that nice relaxing stuff with a little bit of work. So we'll take a deep breath in. Let's press into that block. Take a deep breath in to prepare. On the exhale, raise our hips up, pressing into that block to help us raise our hips into the air. Press the knees toward the wall in front of you. Squeeze the glutes to help support the low back. And then we'll just gently, gently release our back down to the mat, one vertebrae at a time, until your hips are back on the mat. And we'll take that block out from between our thighs, raise our hips up just enough to get that block underneath our sacrum on the lowest setting. So right here, we're in a supported bridge pose, but we're also in a really restorative pose here where our heart is slightly above our head. Now, that's not a whole lot, but it's just enough to give us a little bit of that relaxation that happens when our body's in that position. So you can keep your feet here in the bent pose. If you like, you can try extending your legs long and straight and see how that feels for you. That gives a nice stretch across the front of the hips, but if it doesn't feel restorative and relaxing to you, you can bring your feet back to the floor. Arms can be out at a T to help with that chest opening that we're working on today. Just relax and let the floor support you. Now we're going to bring, if you extended your legs long and straight, go ahead and bend one knee, put the foot on the floor, and then bend the other knee and put the feet on the floor. And then we'll raise our hips up and remove the block and place it off to the side. We'll draw our knees into our chest and we'll rock side to side. So we're giving a little massage to that low back. And then we'll pause here, bring our legs up so that our legs are in a right angle shape. Knees are over hips and ankles are in line with the knees. Then we're going to put our arms out into a T shape, the way we've been doing, and let the knees and ankles stay together and drop off to the right. So your knees may come all the way to the floor, and that's totally fine. If they don't, you can even take one of your blocks and place it underneath. But knees and ankles should be together here. Your hips are probably stacked, and we're trying to keep that left shoulder grounded so that we're in a twist. So we're getting a nice twist through our abdomen here. Twists are really good for digestion. They also help to reset the spine at the end of our practice. So on our next inhale, we're going to bring the knees back up to center and then let them drop off to the left. Again, keeping the knees and the ankles together. Keep the arms at a T. Right shoulder should be grounded. The hips may be stacked. Again, if you need the support of a block or a blanket underneath your knees, that's fine as well. And we'll go ahead and bring those knees back to center and let one foot drop back to the mat and then the other. Then we'll walk our feet out toward the long edges of our mat and just do some windshield wipering with our legs. Just gently and slowly going back and forth. Now, for our next pose, I'm going to give you some options before you move so that you can decide how you'd like to do it. I'm going to suggest legs up the wall, but if you're in a place where you don't have access to enough blank wall to do that, there's a couple of different options. If you have a bolster, you can stack up a bolster or two or some pillows and place your legs on top of that. Or you can place your the bottoms of your legs from your knees down, like on top of a chair or a sofa. You can just lean your legs against a bed, or the little bit of a wall that you can get to. But if you are coming into the legs at the wall pose, what you'll want to do is bring one hip close to the wall. You're going to be up on the wall a little bit, so you want to get as close to the wall as you can get. And then while you lie down, you're going to, at the same time, swing your legs up the wall. Now, not everybody's legs will go straight here, so if you need to keep your knees bent or you need to be a little bit further from the wall, feel free to do that. But what we're trying to accomplish here is to get the ankles above the heart and the legs above the heart. So we'll extend our arms out into a T. So in the legs up the wall pose, this is a really great pose for people that are on their feet a lot, because it reverses the direction of the drainage and everything, where our ankles can get swollen toward the end of the day. And we like to stay in this position for at least 3 minutes, because that's how long it takes for one blood cell to completely circulate around the body. So it's really good for your heart. One of my patients, cardiologist, wants her to do this. One of my patients, sorry, one of my students wants said her cardiologist wants her to do this about 10 minutes a day. So it feels really good. It's very restorative. It's very relaxing, and it's really great for your blood pressure. So just relax here. So it's now time for us to move into another position, unless you're just so comfortable you want to stay here. So as you go into your final rest of Shavasana, just make any adjustments that you would like to make. And just settle into the place where you are and just notice where your body is making contact with the mat. Release any remaining tension. Take a deep breath in and sigh it out. Take a deep breath in, sigh it out. And one last really deep breath and just sigh it out. So gently begin bringing your attention back to the room, bringing little movements to the body, wiggling fingers and toes. Circling wrists and ankles. When you feel ready, you can draw your knees into your chest and roll to one side for our pose of transition. We'll stay here in this pose, just marking the end of our asana practice, reconnecting with our breath. You can use the time to set an intention for the rest of your day. When you're ready, extend your top leg long and straight and gently press yourself up to seated, bringing your head up last. And we'll meet in a comfortable seated position with our hands in Anjali Mudra. Touching our thumbs to our forehead reminds us to live with an open mind. Touching our thumbs to our lips reminds us to speak kind words, especially to ourselves. And bringing our thumbs to heart center reminds us to live with peace and gratitude. The teacher in me honors the teacher in you. Namaste.